What is up, guys? It is Tyler with Mom's Basement MMA, and you know I like to do things a little bit different on this show. I love talking to up-and-coming fighters. I really enjoy speaking with the AMI fighters in particular because they're just getting ready to start on their journey, and they're going to accomplish some amazing things as time goes on. I'm going to segue it right over into my next guest. He fits that criteria. He's an AMI featherweight. He just made his AMI debut at CFFC 99. Lucas, the American Bulldog Hoffman. So, Lucas, man, first and foremost, I appreciate your time. You are a young dude. You are 18 years old. You're about to be 19 here in a couple days. So, that's fantastic. Happy birthday.
Thanks.
Still can't have a beer quite yet, according to the government. But I did want to ask you, at your age, you just this past summer must have just graduated high school. And then a few months later, like, you go into a cage and like fight somebody in a sanctioned bout a few months later. That is nuts. Like, how long were you planning for this?
Well, I started planning for it a year or two ago, and we were going to get ready. My coach wanted me to take a couple months to train and see if I really want to do it. And here we are. And actually, I'm still in high school. I'm a senior.
That is freaking wild. You are so you graduate either this winter or this next spring?
Yeah, next spring. Yes, sir.
Wow, dude, that is wild, man. You were in high school and you were fighting. That blows me away. Well, this is what blows me away. You're fighting and not getting in trouble for it. That is what blows me away. And good for you, man. That is so rare. That is so cool. Is getting like the whole licensing issue and just all of that stuff, was that a big hassle for you to the blood work, all that other stuff? Was that a hassle leading up to this?
Man, at first it was like my blood work came through. I tried to send it. It got caught up. I had to resend it. So yeah, it was a little bit of a hassle, but I got through it. It was all cool. It was a little bit of a hassle, but I'll get used to that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you go through that process the first time. So do you wrestle in high school? You I know you wrestle. It's obvious you wrestle.
Oh.
Are you a wrestler in high school?
Yes, sir. I started wrestling. I think this would be my 9th year wrestling. I've been wrestling since I was yay big. I come from St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis, Missouri at first. I started wrestling up there.
Talk to me about that, because wrestling and mixed martial arts are two very different things. And I hate asking this question, and I typically don't, but for you, I'll make an exception to the rule. Why mixed martial arts? Like, wrestling and mixed martial arts, two very, very different things. And there's almost two different paths. And I feel for a lot of wrestlers, a lot of them will compete collegiately. And then at the end of their NCAA eligibility, then you start seeing that move to mixed martial arts when these guys are like in their early 20s. Talk to me about where, like, your interest in mixed martial arts. Obviously, it's different from wrestling. And like, what do you want to do with this? Because this spring you're going to graduate high school. After you graduate high school, is the plan to go to college and wrestle? Is the plan to pursue mixed martial arts? What are we doing?
I all actually started when I went with a friend to an open mat, and I've always been a kid. I love to fight. I do it in school, outside of school. I used to do it outside of school when I was younger. When we had problems, we'd go out and fight. The wrestling always helped because I would take people down and start beating them. And I went to that open mat with a friend. It was jiu-jitsu. It was a jiu-jitsu thing in Missouri. It was a 21st century MMA, and man, I fell in love with it there. And I'm going to wrestle in college. Hopefully, I'm thinking about it, but I really want to pursue this. I love fighting. It was the whole camp. It was amazing. I feel like this is just made for me. I think that happened right after I went to that open mat right after 145 pound national freestyle nationals for juniors. I just won that turn. I just won that. So I mean, yeah, no, it just started. It came to me.
I think it's fantastic, and the fact that you have the wrestling chops that you do, and given your age, you have a long time before you have to even worry about going pro. Like now's the time to okay, let's figure out like Muay Thai, let's figure out jiu-jitsu, let's work on striking. You have all this time to do that, but that's doable. Like you can't it's much more difficult to pull a Kevin Holland when you're like an amazing striker and then it's like, "Oh crap, I don't know how to grapple. I don't know how to wrestle people." I would much rather be in a position where it's like, "Okay, I want to learn how to strike. I already know the ground game pretty good." And I want to talk to you about this because I think this is insane. You're in high school. You make your AMI debut at a freaking huge event, CFFC 99. That was in Tunica, Mississippi. I know that's not that far away from where you live. I know it's like a couple hours away from you. They like to pick for a lot of these cards. They like to pick guys from kind of the surrounding area, right? So like you and Harvey are both Arkansas dudes. You go into Mississippi for this big fight. You make your debut. CM Punk is calling your fight. There are cameras everywhere. You're in a casino that you probably need, like, I don't, Jesus Christ. Are you even allowed in a casino when you're not 21? I don't even know.
Actually, we were allowed everywhere but the casino. They had a resort there. I had to stay in my room, and that was the hardest part because me and my buddy were going down there. We were even trying to go get lunch in the casino. We got there, and the security all of a sudden just told us stop. We were like, "Well, we can't go get lunch," and they just no, they wouldn't even let us in it. But after the fight, we got in there. We snuck in. It was pretty good. We got to the buffet line and everything. They didn't say, I had a beer at that time too, so yeah, it helped. It helped.
Jeez Louise, man, that is just bizarre. Like, no, like you can't go into the casino to get a sandwich, but you can go into a cage and like beat another man senseless. Like,
I know, that's what I thought. I was like, I just got done beating somebody up.
In a cage. Like that is just wild. So tell me about how did this come together? How did you get the opportunity? Like, how did you and your coaches, your team, how did you find out about this bout, and how were you able to get an opponent and get on the undercard?
Actually, it was right. It was actually the day after I told my coach I think I was ready to fight, and he was with me. And actually, right after that, Helen got in touch with my coach and said they were looking for somebody to fight Harvey, and coach gave it to me, and that one thing led to another. That was about it.
Wow, I mean that is just so cool. So like leading up to it, so did the fact that you're a wrestler, like you have been wrestling a very long time, like performing in front of people isn't new to you, and like wrestling is a big deal. Like there are a lot of people that go out to those matches. It's insane. Even at the high school level, it's insane. Like they'll pack an entire basketball arena or whatever filled with spectators, and there are mats everywhere. It's a big deal. So like, were you able to fall back on those experiences, like being a wrestler and just kind of like knowing like you're gonna go out there and perform in front of a bunch of people? Like, did that help you a lot going into this fight?
Yeah, I've always been a showman. Like my national career, my freestyle national career. When I would go out there, I'd always have a very colorful looking singlet. I'd want to make everybody laugh, have fun. So when I went out there and felt the crowd roar, it was natural for me. I always get nervous on the walk out, but as soon as I step in the mat or in the cage now, it just immediately just go straight into kill mode. That's what it feels.
I wanted to ask you that about that specifically, Lucas, because the thing that stood out to me is like there are a lot of bright lights. There are a lot of names that are at this place, right? Like, if I were 18 years old and like some guy like CM Punk was like calling my fight, I think I'd be a little starstruck, honestly. Like, I'd be like, "What the hell is this?" It would be like an out of body crazy experience, and I think I would probably crap my pants at least 3 or 4 times walking just to the cage. You go to the cage and you look very, very comfortable. Like, I could tell you're excited, but it just seemed to me that you weren't nervous whatsoever. Like maybe you barfed in the trash can in the dressing room or whatever, and that's fine. But like when you were out there in front of people, you did not look like nervous at all. When you were in the back room warming up, putting on your gear, all that other good stuff, is that when the nerves were hitting you?
Yeah, that's when the nerves hit me. Whenever I'm warming up, hitting mitts, that's when it was all hitting me. But as soon as my music came on and I started walking out there and I heard the crowd, it just fell apart. I was like, it's go time.
Was is it more nerve wracking? So you're on the undercard, and there are people that fight before you. So I'd imagine it's like blue in one room, red in the other, and like slowly you start to see guys going in. Like I don't know, man. That would just kind of mess with my mind a little bit. Did that mess with you?
Yeah, it felt like being in the bullpen for wrestling. You're waiting to get put out in the mat. I was like, ooh, I saw, and the last guy before me got choked out like in the first round. So I was like, well, every a million thoughts going through your head. Like, is that gonna be me? Am I gonna get knocked out? But I
Right.
mean
Like
it.
it's just I can only imagine. Like, were you blue or red for this fight?
I was blue.
So I'm trying to think who else was blue. Was Lydell Pogue in your room?
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, because I think he was blue corner too. So I would imagine like it's everyone in the blue corners sharing the same space, right?
Actually, we were all in different areas. They were coming to go grab us. They were running around getting us. It wasn't as organized as I thought it was going to be.
Oh
We were just all
wow!
back there. Yeah.
Like even your like you could see your opponent and stuff warming up.
My opponent was on the other end. I was in a corner by myself. I distanced myself because I was like, I gotta get in my own head.
So he's an Arkansas dude, and he's a couple years older than you, but not much. He's like 19 or 20. I know he's a relatively young guy, right?
Yeah.
Did you know him before this fight?
I did not actually. I knew of his gym. Some of my friends have trained up there at his gym, but I did not know.
So, did you have any like awkward encounters with him like prior to the bout, or was it one of those things where it's like you pass him in the hallway, you nod, whatever, and then you see him at the weigh-ins or whatever? Like, because sometimes I hear about these like weird stories, like you just like bump into some guy, you bump into your opponent in the elevator or something like that. And sometimes it can get weird, but sometimes guys, have fun with it. Like, did anything like that happen to you?
Man, he was very chill. I was chill with him too, leading up to the whole thing. Because as soon as we walked in the casino, he was right there. He almost ran right into me. So we went eye to eye, and he was super chill. He just thanked me for taking the fight. He was really chill about it, and I was cool with it. The only awkward moment I had with him was whenever we went back to our resort because he was staying in the same hotel I was. We were in this elevator together, and it was super quiet. Other than that, no, we didn't have too many awkward.
Wow, that's wild. And tell me a little bit about just kind of like since we're on the topic of like pre-event stuff. The weigh-ins are on Thursday because the fight is on Friday. So you're cutting weight, I assume, back home. And were you on weight before you got in the car to go to Mississippi or no?
I was on weight the morning of the weigh-in. I was on weight the morning of the weigh-in. I cut actually from I was 180 pounds before I went down to 145.
How long were you dieting or cutting to get make weight?
About a month. I had a month.
Okay, that's okay. That's still hardcore though. Like that's a lot of freaking work. Like that's wearing a lot of sweatsuits. That's a lot of pain and misery. Like drinking like water and eating broccoli and like wearing one of those freaking suits with the sweat dripping down by your
Yeah,
wrists.
I looked like a Walking Dead character, dude. I did look like I was auditioning for a zombie.
So you're at what do you typically walk around at? Is that like your typical weight, like 180 pounds? Because like you're not
It,
like a small dude. Like you're a thick guy.
yeah, I usually walk around maybe 175, 180. I've been keeping my weight around 170 right now though, so
Okay.
trying so I don't have to cut like that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you're young, so it's easy to do. But I tell you what, when you're an old dude like me, man, like, whew, like that gets difficult. Did you feel a lot weaker with a 40-pound weight cut? What did you feel like? A lot of your strength had left, or did you feel really good and strong in there?
In all honesty, the people I train with are a lot heavier than me. Like even my coach would get in there and grapple with me, and he's about 200 pounds. So I was always the lighter guy. So
Hmm.
when I got in there, and I was the night of the fight, I bumped back up to about 167 pounds. So I was still pretty big when I got in there. So I felt thick, I felt good, and I've been throwing around guys way bigger than me. So when I got in there, he didn't feel that heavy or strong. So I felt really good.
So the morning of, we go, you're on weight, you're at 145 pounds, you drive the 2 hours from Arkansas to this place, or it might be a little bit more than 2 hours. You get to the venue, you check in, and what's that experience like? Is it chaotic? Is there a bunch of crap going around? Are there a bunch of people running around with headsets that don't know what the hell they're doing? Like, what is that experience like? Because I would imagine with all the COVID stuff going on, there's just it's a shit show, I'm sure.
Actually, they all knew what they were doing, but when we got there, apparently we didn't know what we were doing because we went into the casino at first, and again got told we couldn't go in it at all. So we had to go around. It was very at first it was very like well compact. It was very clean and stuff. They were focused, but then like as soon as they got all the fighters in there, man, it was hectic. Everybody they were yelling names. You had to make sure you could hear. They had to check your glove size. It was hectic at first, but it got calm as time went on, especially when you were signing all the stuff.
You go in there, you check in, and I assume, did you? I'm sure you showed up like on Thursday morning ish, and then weigh-ins are probably in the early afternoon, like 1, 2, something like that. Is that about
Uh,
right?
yeah, the weigh-in. I think the weigh-in was around 1. I think the weigh-in is around 1 or 2. We showed up at 12, so we showed up
Oh,
about an hour early.
so you go in there, you get checked in, and your coaches. Did you have your entire team with you, like your three coaches, or how many people did you
I
have with you?
my coach Noah and Coach Rudy. Other than that, it was just us three.
Okay, so you guys go, you make the trip to Mississippi, and we arrive at the venue. You show up, you're on weight, you're probably feeling terrible. I'm not going to say feeling good. You probably feel like shit. Were you one of the first people to have to hit the scale, or were you toward the end?
I was toward the end. I think I was like the third to last person to get to hit the scale.
When you're a professional, obviously there's a financial incentive to make your weight, because if you don't make your weight, there's 20% right off the top. When you're an AMI, you guys aren't getting paid. It's you show up, and there really is no penalty if you don't make the weight. Like, you might get yelled at by the promotion. If it's bad enough, the promotion might just say, you know what, dude, like, don't even come here anymore, or don't come here in that class. And I get a little nervous, particularly for the featherweights, for young guys that are a lot bigger. It's like, shit, man, I hope they can make that weight, because you would just hate to lose out on an opportunity like that because of poor planning. And I know that wasn't a factor. I know the bout happened. You guys made the weight. It happened. But, like, do you feel like there really is no penalty for missing the weight? And is that something that you think about a lot?
Actually, we got to sell tickets for the fight, so
Oh,
more
cool.
tickets we sold, we got money for it. And I didn't know if they were taking that out of our thing if we didn't make weight or not. But I know he had the choice if I didn't make weight to not fight at all. So that was the incentive for the fight was if I didn't make weight, then he might not want to fight. And for wrestling, I have to make weight almost every other week. So I was like, it's one of those things. The mentality for me. I'm like, I have to make weight. If I don't, I'll get chewed out.
That's kind of like part of the game. Like, you guys, I think, have an advantage. Weight cutting is such a big deal in wrestling. But, like, you talk to about some guy in like a taekwondo gym or whatever, it's the culture's different. And maybe I'm totally talking on my ass, I don't know, but that's just kind of like my theory. But I remember, like, a million years ago when I was in high school, my friends were wrestlers. They were always like, really good about, like, keeping to their size and doing what they need to do to always hit weight. And, like, if you miss weight in wrestling, like, oh Jesus Christ, it's over for you, man. Like, it
It's
is
it's
a
running.
yeah.
It's just a
Yeah,
bunch of running after that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And when I think of you, Lucas, I kind of think like of a starving man in a desert, a guy that is like dying of hunger, and somebody throws him a T-bone steak. That's what happened to you because you go on to a huge stage. You go on with like one of the best promotions in the country for up and coming fighters, and it's televised. Like they're streaming your fight on like Facebook like right away. Like that just doesn't happen for guys that are making their AMI debut. Like oftentimes, like you're fighting in a rundown, crappy Indian casino somewhere. And I just kind of like wonder, like I'm assuming because CFFC is typically based in Philadelphia, it was like a one-off deal in terms of like promotions and like what you want to do. Because obviously this is like I think it's safe to assume we're going to be on the AMI scene for a while. But like, have you thought about like what's next after this in terms of like where you want to be or where you want to compete at?
Actually, yeah, I would love to compete in CFFC again. That would be amazing. But I'm also open to like B2 fights, other people like other promotions like that. Anywhere, just I know there's amateur belts out there, and that's like the main goal: get a belt, uh, go pro eventually, and maybe try to fight my way up into that rank, get into the UFC because that's the 100%. That's 100% the main goal.
Talk a little bit about the venue, the bright lights, and now I want to talk about the fight itself. You're going in against a guy who had a couple fights on you at that point in time. I know he's still a relatively young guy, but he had experience on you, and I think he was like 1-1 or something like that before he fought you. And when you go into the bout, the one thing that stands out to me is he looks nervous to me. I can kind of tell he that's just my opinion looking at the fight, not knowing like looking at this through the lens of a fan who's just watching fights. You're calm, cool, and collected, and you seem like you want like you're ready to go. And this guy, I'm not going to say he's terrified, but he looks nervous to me. And as the bout progresses, I sense he's very frustrated because you, from the very beginning, Lucas, of the fight, you shoot, you get it. This is your fight. Shoot, full guard, posturing up, and just ground and pound like Cain Velasquez shit for like 9 minutes. That was basically your fight.
Yeah, well, that was actually the whole plan coming into this. Was like we knew he was a great kickboxer because he's had some kickboxing fights as well.
Right.
I've seen some of them, and I've seen him knock people out. I saw, matter of fact, Adrian Grundy, the other one he had, he's a jiu-jitsu artist, so we knew. I've seen him take people down. Like he took Colin Phillips down. Adrian Grundy took Colin Phillips down pretty easy. So I was like, well, I need to stay sharp. My boxing needs to be good. So we fixed that boxing up just a little bit, which he was afraid of strikes, and that's how I got my takedowns in. So it felt good. It felt collective, and yeah, again, Cain Velasquez is one of my favorite heavyweights.
Yeah, man. That was like textbook Cain. That was the first thing I thought of when I watched it. I was like, we got like little Cain Velasquez here, man. Like this kid's just shooting. Like I don't know if there's one instance where he stuffed any of your takedowns. Like I felt you were able, as soon as you took him down, you were able to pretty much do whatever you wanted. You maintained top control the entire time. You're too strong for that kid. He could not get up. You did a really good job of making sure he didn't use the cage. He wanted to use that cage to stand back up. You took that away from him. And it was just really cool to see. You kind of have that like old school kind of like, I don't know. It's just that old school ground fighting type, and I really just love seeing that because I loved Cain Velasquez, man. I'm a big fan of him. There's only one instance in the entire 9 minutes where I felt like the commentators blew it up and made it much bigger than what it was, but it was at the very end of the third. I don't know if he stood up or what happened or if you shot and didn't get it, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. He threw like a flurry at you. And I think one of them got you, but it seemed like the other two, like he got you, but it wasn't clean is what it looked like.
What happened was so he got up from the last takedown because I was trying to get his legs. I was going for submission. It was the last couple minutes. I was like, I might as well try something. And he got up from it and he just started swinging left and right with crazy hooks. And the first two I weaved under him. They if they did anything, they nipped my gloves a little bit. And that third one, yeah, it nipped the top of my head right here and just made it bounce. But I went in for a shot and I actually came around into that single when the bell rung and I just let go. But yeah, no, we were just throwing wild.
Yeah, I think that was frustration because he wasn't able to hit you the entire time. And
100%. Yeah.
were you surprised, Lucas, like that you were able to like maintain top control to the extent that you did? Did you think you'd be stronger on the ground?
Honestly, yeah, I wish I would have made more transitioning and stuff, but all I could think of was punching him in his face at that point. It was my first. I was like, I just need to knock this dude out. But no, I understand that. Yeah. I felt strong. I felt really good. I just need more work on just transitioning and stuff. But other than that, yeah, no, I felt great.
Well, you looked great. I mean, like I said, it was Cain Velasquez for 9 minutes, and I was able to grab some clips of that fight, and the takedowns, the ground and pound, I got that, and I'm gonna show that at the end of this, at the end here when we're done talking. I think it is going to give people, without giving too much away, it's going to give people a much bigger appreciation of just like how well you were able to dominate your opponent on the ground. Now, I think now that there's tape and stuff on you, people are going to have something to go off of. So when you go again, right, like it's obvious, right? I am not telling you anything you don't already know. It's going to be takedown defense, takedown defense, takedown defense. If this kid can't take us to the down to the ground, if we can avoid that single that he's really good at, we stand a chance. Like we're gonna make this kid stand and bang with us. Like we're gonna make him use his boxing. That's what we're gonna go for. I know you know that. Like that's exactly what the game plan is. So when you look at this fight, I don't know what you could have done differently other than what you did. Like you dominated that fight. I personally was kind of surprised it was 30-27. I thought you had at least one 10-8 in there personally. So I was a little. The right man won at the end of the day, and I know it probably didn't matter, but were you a little surprised that it wasn't 30-26 on one of the cards at least?
Yeah, you could see my frustration I was like when I heard the scorecards. I went, I was like, oh, okay. I thought it was 10-8 rounds. The last one I could have seen 30-27 because he got up and threw that flurry. But other than that, no, I thought it was 10-8. But I
I
mean,
did
it
too.
is what it is. I got the win, and that's all that matters at the end of the day.
So and let's talk about that. So you win in dominant fashion. Dominated this kid. Like you're not gonna run it back with that kid unless he's in the pros with you because it wasn't a competitive fight. You got in there, you did what you wanted to do when you wanted to do it. You bullied the kid. He's frustrated at the end, but there's no surprises. You walk out of that cage, you get back in the locker room, and like, what is like going on through your head? Are you pretty even keeled? Is it pretty cool, or are you just losing your mind?
Well, I'm gonna admit I was a little hyped about winning. It was my first one, but the first thing that came to mind was I went up to my coach and said, "What do I need to work on?" Because I just want to grow, get better. And matter of fact, we've been working on the striking a lot. Come to your last thing you said, and yeah, I think people will be surprised when I get back in the cage. My stand up is looking good now.
Good for you, man. Like I love hearing that, and I love that you're able. I love that you're able to like have that perspective. Like I'm just starting, and I want to continue to get better because I was 18 once, and I was dumb. I was really stupid, and I don't know if I would have had that maturity to like be able to listen to coaches. Some young guys aren't coachable. I think it shows a lot of maturity because there's a lot of guys that would win that fight in the way that you did, and then if your coach was like, "Hey Lucas, man, you probably need to do A, B, and C better," be like, "Man, what are you talking about? I won that fight," and like they aren't gonna listen until something bad happens. But the fact that you were able to just right away, like, no, I want to get better. Like, what can I do better? I think that just shows you have the right mindset for this, and you want to continue to evolve, and you want to have all the tools in your chest. So when we do eventually go pro, let's just say it's 5 years from now. If you go pro 5 years from now, you will have everything that you need to not only just turn pro, but to turn pro and do well. You talked about the UFC, and that's something that you really want to do. Is there like a fighter in the UFC or Bellator or PFL, anything like that you really look at and you're just like, man, like, I know you mentioned Cain, but like beyond other than Cain, are there any other fighters out there that are like something like you want to try to emulate?
Well, yes, there's old ones, there's retired ones, and there's newer ones like Kamaru Usman, Habib, Matt Brown, Matt Serra. He's actually I look up to him because he was so little for that heavyweight class he went in. He went in there and knocked out GSP.
Right.
Yeah, all the underdogs, and I like Conor McGregor's brash personality. I like that making a show for the fans.
Sure.
That is amazing. And Cowboy's another fighter.
I think like one of my favorites is well, I could tell you my favorite 55er is Gillespie. I love that guy.
Yeah, Gillespie's good. Yeah,
I love watching him. He's a wrestler too, obviously, but um, I it's just nice to see guys like that get a little bit more love, like with people starting to really understand mixed martial arts a little bit more and have a better understanding of what the ground game entails and like what you guys are trying to do. It's not boring if you know what they're trying to do. Like if you can understand the basics, it's that much more of a chess match, and you're starting to see it. But there are things that happen when I'm watching these fights that just they happen so fast, and with the camera angles, you can't see everything. He's definitely one of the most like entertaining guys in the sport, in my opinion. And before I let you go, I wanted to just kind of like ask you, overall, are you like really happy with that bout, or like when you look at that fight again, like some guys look at their fights like 500 times, and I don't blame you if you do, because I probably would too, if that's you. And the more they look at it, they start growing dissatisfied with the fight after a while. Like you start nitpicking shit, you start getting mad and like frustrated, and then you start wondering like, oh man, like instead of doing this, I should have done this. Is that a thing with you, or are you just kind of forgetting
man.
it and moving on?
When I walked in there, I was like, okay, because I was like, I'm gonna Chad Mendes this kid. I'm gonna get in there. I'm gonna explosive punches and explosive takedown, and just go at it. Man, I watched that fight. I'm like maybe 10, 20 times, and I said, yeah, every time I watch it, I nitpick it. I'm thinking, well, here's what I can do better. I'm gonna replicate this in the gym. Try to focus on that, get on that, because there was points in that fight where he got a little bit too high, and I was like, well, why'd I let him get that high? So,
Right.
I just watch that fight and I try to rework it in the gym, try to get better every day.
After the fight, did you talk to Harvey at all?
Yeah. After the fight, I went back there because we seemed pretty good after the fight. After the bell rung and everything, he shook my hand and it went good. So I went back there and I talked to him, and I plan on going over to the gym and training with him and helping him out a little bit on the wrestling.
Well, good for you, man. And I'm sure there's certain things about striking in exchange that he would be able to tell you and help you out with. So it's like, why wouldn't you? And when can we expect to see you back out again? Like, are you pretty much done until you walk across the stage this spring, or like, kind of what are you and your coaches talking about in terms of what's next?
Well, in wrestling right now. There's a state championship I'm chasing after, and I'll be chasing that until February. But right after that, it'll be immediate right back in. So I'm eyeballing sometime maybe after February of next year. I'm thinking about getting back in there, and after I get me one of them clean shirts you got on right
Oh,
there,
I'll hook you up,
I'm gonna
man.
have to get me one. Yes, sir.
I'll hook you up. Absolutely. And so the plan is to wrestle and compete in mixed martial arts at the same time. That's your plan. Okay.
Man, my plan is to wrestle and do jiu-jitsu, and then when wrestling season's over, start fighting again. Yeah.
When you go to college, like, are they gonna? You're still fighting AMI, so they shouldn't care. You shouldn't lose any NCAA eligibility because of the AMIs,
Oh, no.
right?
Yeah.
No problems.
Yeah,
Done.
no problem. There should be
Done.
no problem.
You're good.
Yes, sir.
You know who else did that? David Mashad did that. I don't know if you know who that is, but he fought in PFL, he fought in Bellator, and he fought in UFC.
Yeah, yeah.
He also did that. He fought mixed martial arts and wrestled at the same time.
Actually, TJ Dillashaw, I think he was on doing wrestling and amateur fighting at the same time because of Uriah Faber and them.
Yeah. So like and that's super exciting for you, man. And like I want you to get out there and like I want you to go to like B2. I want you to go to like is for you to leave Arkansas and go to like St. Louis and well they will freaking boo your ass for going in there I want you to go into enemy territory. I really want you to beat up a local boy. That would make me happy. I want to see that so bad for you.
That's what I want. I'm telling you, it's gasoline when people tell me I can't. So I mean, I can't wait for my next fight. I hope it's something like that.
Yeah, well, LFA is. I know St. Louis isn't that far away from you. You're in one of those positions. You got St. Louis there. In LFA, a lot of their events are in Oklahoma on the Shawnee Indian Reservation. A lot of their events are there. That's not far from you. You got Memphis. That's not far from you. So you're, and then Little Rock too. I don't know what the MMA scene is like in Little Rock, but like you have a lot more opportunities. Like you're not in the middle of nowhere in the sticks. Like you're kind of like actually really close to everything, and that kind of works out well for you.
Dead middle.
Yeah, man. Like, how far is Memphis from you? Like 3 hours?
I 3 or 2. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very close.
I mean, you have a ton of opportunities just being where you are, and like driving a couple hours for a fight. That's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. That true. I mean, I'm willing to drive anywhere to get me a fight. I love it.
Before I let you go, Lucas, want to give you an opportunity. Shout out who needs shouting out. If you need to talk about your teammates, your coaches, anything like that, I want to give you the opportunity to go ahead and do that.
Oh heck yeah! I'd like to thank Wade. He's a ex Bellator fighter. He really helped me in my camp, and my head coach Rudy and head coach Noah, both of them really helped me. They pushed me through when there was doubts or when I was a little nervous. They helped me get through it, and I really appreciate them. But yeah, other than that, that's all I got, man.
What do you want people to know about those buttery clips that we're about to show them?
Oh, it's mean. It's wrestling. You know me. Hey, the American Bulldog, short and mean. That's
There,
all me.